Double J, Jeff Jarrett, here to tell you a little bit about the nonstop savings happening over here at SaveWithConrad.com. Are high credit card balances holding you down on the card? If you're looking to give a guitar shot to your credit card debt or give your home the push it deserves with some upgrades and remodeling, you need to go to SaveWithConrad.com. That's right, SaveWithConrad.com. Conrad and his team are routinely helping my world listeners save $5, $6, $7, even $800 a month. Oh, did I mention you get to skip your next 2 house payments? Take a cue from the last outlaw, because if anybody knows how to get the bag, it's me. Strut on over to SaveWithConrad.com today and see how much money you can save for free. That's right, it's SaveWithConrad.com.
NMLS number 65084, equal housing lender. Woo!
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson, and you're listening to Grilling JR with the voice of professional wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Ross. Jim, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. This is the earliest we've ever done this. I don't mind it a bit, but I'm finally recovering a little bit from my jet lag. So, 9 hours over and 10 hours back, and then I got stuck in the Atlanta airport for 7 hours.
Oh, goodness.
So after landing. So it's been travel was rugged. I mean, the flights are fine, but it just long delays and boarding and this, that, and the other. It's just challenging. So, but anyway, here we are and back from London and happy to be back in Oklahoma, as many folks can see. So I'm looking forward to this show, Connie. Had a good time in London. Let's talk about it.
Let's do. There's so much to talk about, so much happening in wrestling. We're going to do something a little different, folks. Normally, we just talk about nostalgia here on this show, but today we thought, man, there's so much going on with everything happening in wrestling lately. The biggest show in wrestling history, and we lost, tragically, 2 icons in professional wrestling, one whose life was cut way, way too short. We'll do our best to pay tribute to both Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk today. But before we do that, man, we should celebrate the high watermark that was set this past weekend amid all the sadness after 2 pretty tragic losses in wrestling, one that maybe we were a little prepared for, one that we could have never expected. And then the biggest show in history. And I think a lot of people are still just shocked at that. I mean, Jim, you were involved in so many huge stadium shows. I mean, going back to working with Watts, you were in the Superdome, and then goodness gracious, who would have ever imagined that there would be a show that was somehow bigger than a WrestleMania, more attended than a WrestleMania, the highest paid wrestling attendance in history. And of course, I said the biggest show ever last week when I was at Podcast Movement with Eric Bischoff, and he said, are we going to act like North Korea didn't happen? And of course, he's half joking. That's not a paid crowd, which is the differentiator. But let's just talk about the arena and just the atmosphere. And I mean, listen, man, getting your introduction and then playing your theme music. And I don't know if you had a chance to watch the playback, but you at the table just soaking it all in, man. It was so fun to see. I was smiling ear to ear.
Oh, good. Well, I was too, pretty much as I could smile with Bell's palsy. JR never smiles. I want to have the golden smile.
Why is everything golden?
Why is everything golden nowadays? What's going on here? So pardon me. Doing a show outside dries you up. It's a little challenging. I think my peers, my other announcers would probably attest to that now that they've experienced it. It's just a little bit different on your respiratory system. It's good though. It's good. I had so much fun, and we'll talk about anything you want to talk about that show, but it was really cool, man. It was a great look. I was very impressed with the AEW production team.
Yes.
And how they came together. They had the nice covering on the ring. The fans had good sight lines. It seemed like everybody was pleasantly surprised, Connie, because I don't know that people just had the confidence that I thought things would be just fine. And I was lucky. I was right. But boy, the production team, they kicked some ass, man, because that was a big time look. We had fans from 70 countries.
Oh my.
Yeah. That's amazing. I talked to a guy. The smart ones. We stayed in the hotel right across from the street, so to speak, from the stadium, and so it made everything convenient. Everything was right there. But some of the fans who were smart stayed at that hotel. So you talk about getting autographs and selfies and all that stuff. There weren't a lot of them, but there were some of them. I talked to one fan that had driven 12 hours from Germany.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And, stuff like that was just kind of cool. So they were very loyal, very dedicated. So it was good. It was a fun experience. Like you said, I've done a lot of stadium shows.
Yeah.
But none that really, you almost expect the WWE production team to hit home runs because that's what they do.
That's right.
And so, but we had never been in that arena, literally and figuratively, before. So it was a really cool thing, and I'm glad I got to be a part of it. I don't know how many more of these, these stadium shows outside the United States and here, for that matter. How many I got left in me, to be just realistic about it. But it was great. I'm so glad, so fortunate. My health was good. I had a little leg pain. All that flying was not cool, but I had my leg wrapped. I had the doctor see it before I left. He wrapped it all up. It was nice and tight. So it's pretty good. Now, taking it all off when I got back to Oklahoma wasn't any pleasure, but hey, look, I made it work, and that's it was just great, man. I had so much fun. I thought the matches were strong as hell. I thought thinking about this last night. I get home first of all to Oklahoma finally after that long layover sitting in the Atlanta airport. I got home and my DirecTV was out. All three of my TVs wouldn't play.
Oh,
so my handyman came over because he was fixing my ice maker. This is a crazy story. So the ice maker was working as if I needed that right away. And so I didn't have any DirecTV. And I got cable, but I don't know how to convert it from DirecTV over to cable. That's really smart. I half-assed it. I didn't know how to do it. So he gave me a tip. Do you ever record anything? And I said, yeah, I record a lot of stuff. Probably a lot of it I hadn't even watched. And sure enough, we hit that button that brings up that content. So I just been watching pre-existing tapings, football, stuff on ESPN. One of my favorite shows is Chicago PD. Another one is SVU. So I just, that's what I've been doing to entertain myself and to let my leg kind of get back to normal as it gets. So it's been an interesting time. And I haven't seen too much negativity. Have you?
well, I mean, even if I have, I think some of that is just tribalism. I enjoyed the show. I have to admit, going into it, I wasn't too sure if the build was going to be there. I mean, I enjoy the product, and I watch every week, usually on a DVR circumstance, because frankly, my wife is over watching all the live wrestling that I'd like to watch. So when she goes to bed a little earlier, I can skip around and catch everything I think is important that I need. And I wasn't too sure about it. And then I thought, man, that Go Home Dynamite, and I sent a few texts just saying how strong of a show I thought that was.
Yeah.
They really brought all the matches to a head. And the thing that I was sort of curious about was, how are we going to do this main event? Normally when people think about these great iconic WrestleMania type moments, they think about Rock and Austin and what a heated feud that was on top and things like that. And we have seen some babyface versus babyface main events before, but those aren't typically as well received. So I have to be honest and say I had lowered expectations for the main event, and boy, it exceeded it. I thought they did a wonderful job storytelling. Eric Bischoff went on record, and he's been maybe the loudest and proudest AEW critic, as saying it was fantastic. Both of the talents and the producers or whoever was involved in that did a fantastic job. But I mean, to start the show with Samoa Joe and CM Punk, I mean, I think I was 3 or 4 matches in, and I said to my crew I was watching with, guys, any one of these could have been the main event.
Right.
You know, whether the Young Bucks and FTR, or it was the 6-man with Kenny Omega, or, you know, the Stadium Stampede. I mean, there were so many of those. It's like, these are all worthwhile, worthy main events.
All right.
It was a really stacked card. I really enjoyed it. I think there was less criticism about the length of the show than at other times because the content was so good. So I really enjoyed it. I got my money's worth. I'll say that.
That's pretty damn important. I got to the stadium on Sunday afternoon. I think our call was at 11. I went over about 1, and shortly thereafter, I got my assignments of what I was going to do, and it was the first 4 matches, but it included Punk and Joe, which I was really excited about.
Yeah, it
included Kenny's match. It included that tag team match with FTR and the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
And I don't know what else, something else. I can't remember. Anyway, it was great. I actually got lucky, and I got to call the matches that I specifically hoped that I would. If I picked all the matches, the only thing I would have added was the main event.
Right.
Because I love those kind of matches, the strategies, the counters, the game plans, laying it out, and all that stuff. It's kind of cool. So I thought that. So what I did my matches, and then I hopped into a car and went back to the hotel, and I had a link. It wasn't missing. It wasn't Dewey Robertson. I had a link to the show, so I watched the rest of the show in my hotel room on my iPad. So I might have missed one match because it's a short drive over there, maybe 10 minutes. So it was kind of cool, man. And you know, we had nice monitors. We had nice headsets that fit. It wasn't aggravating to get the headsets to stay on your face or on your head, because I wear my hat, and if I could wear my headset like I'm wearing this one, no worries. But when you have to put the headset, this part, around the back of your head, so your hat will fit, it takes a little bit of maneuvering.
That's right.
I've gotten used to it over the years, but it takes a little bit of, customization, shall we say. So I went back to the hotel and watched the entire show, or what was left of the show by the time I got there, which was a lot. And but I didn't see the Stadium Stampede. How did that work? I was always curious how that was going to work with all those people there. What did you think?
I thought it was fun. You know, it was unpredictable. It was wild. You know, I know the participants probably wish they had, a thing or two a little differently. You know, the biggest challenge I would think if you were watching live would have been, hey, what do I focus on?
Right.
There's so much going on. Am I looking at what's happening in the ring, or am I watching what's happening on the monitor where people are fighting through the crowd? Now, we didn't have that issue at home because we were able to switch back and forth, but if you're live in the crowd, I could see how that could be a little challenging. But I mean, that match, in a word, is chaos, and it delivered on that. And some craziness, glass and skewers and lots of silliness. The violence was there in a big way.
Yeah.
And it told a fun story. That was the thing that I would use to describe the whole show, fun. And I just hate that it feels like more often than not, the internet wrestling community at times tries to find a way to look for the controversy rather than the fun. Well, I think if you were looking for fun, you found it on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought, as I mentioned, the matches that I thought would be good were better than good.
Yes. The
matches that I thought would be, if they have a good night, that'll be a bonus for us. And that happened. Matches that were, maybe heretofore weren't the showstoppers, show stealers, main event level stuff. They overachieved, and it was good to see all the talents. I talked to everybody that I could about don't lay down on this opportunity. This is the night that you want to have the very best of your work on display.
Oh yeah.
And I didn't talk about finishes or are you going over, brother? It didn't make a shit. It really didn't. What made the difference was your bell-to-bell performance. Then you add on the entrances and the pageantry, the ambiance of that arena. It was an intimate feel, Conrad. To be honest with you, even with 80,000 and change there paid, it was a happening. And for me, it was a special feeling because, I thought Tony Khan's team overachieved in every area. The look of like you mentioned the entrance a while ago. I was supposed to get an full entrance down the ramp, down the deal. The timing got mixed up. There was a few little hiccups right before we went on the air. Apparently, so they said, we need to get you over here. So then I got like a half entrance. Then when I got to my seat, I got another wave, and it was kind of cool. I got a great pop, as they say, and we live performers and announcers are performers. Live for those pops. Don't ignore me. I got to be recognized. You better recognize. So it was really cool. Every aspect. I can't. And the fact that they had a car waiting for me to leave, so I didn't have to get caught up in any of the traffic. Maybe it took me 5 minutes to get back to my room. So it was really neat, man. I so blessed I got to be a part of it. Don't know how many more, as I said, I've got left in me, but nonetheless, that's just not because I feel bad. It's just because, I did find out, as same as everybody else, we're going back next year in August 24. And that was bold. That was a bold move too. That was very strategic, Conrad. What did you think of that announcement?
Man, I'll be honest. I didn't expect it, and I don't know why I didn't expect it. I thought this year was a little bit of a unique setup with us having All In this past weekend, and now this coming weekend's All Out. We'll talk about this weekend shortly, but I thought, man, that's a unique setup. That's a big ask to have 2 pay-per-views back to back.
Yeah.
But given the success that they just had, I certainly see why you would want to go ahead and announce that while excitement was at a fever pitch. The old school promoter in me would think, well, I would have liked to have seen them maybe put tickets on sale right then.
Yeah.
All those folks are at an emotional high, like this is the best wrestling show ever. I can't believe this happened. Let's go ahead and pick up tickets right now. I mean, that is the old school way. I realize that nobody does that now.
Right.
I mean, just a couple of weeks ago, we saw WWE put next year's WrestleMania on sale, but that's months and months and months away. But way back when, when Hulk Hogan came to Huntsville and those damn villains would get on him right before intermission. When we went to intermission, you could go to the box office and buy tickets for the return match right then.
Yeah,
that's old school.
Yeah, it's old school, and it's strategic. It's an impulse buy at that point.
Yes.
And I'm not going to be left out. I'm going to upgrade my tickets. I'm going to get a better seat.
That's right.
So that's kind of how I looked at that deal. So I thought it was kind of bold. I thought it was new in how we approached that. So now you build a big build up for on sale and all that stuff whenever that time comes. No hurry. And I think a lot of those folks that were with us will come back. They got, as you said, Conrad, the key thing you said this morning thus far was the fact that you got your money's worth.
Oh, yeah.
And you're a discerning fan. You watch a lot of wrestling, you consume a lot of product, and you got lots of irons in the fire with talents, being friends with talents and so forth. So I just thought we pulled it off. I thought we pulled it off. It was a time to celebrate. I was so tired and so emotionally drained. I didn't even go to the after party. They had an after party. They closed a pub about a half a block from our hotel, and had the after party. I heard it went well. There was no incidents. There was no nothing. It was the open bar, which is dangerous, and and free food. I was on the flight in the line, and I helped her get through a couple of things with our little lady from the Dark Order, not the Dark Order, the House of Black.
Julia Hart.
Julia, yeah. So I was Julia's escort to part of the boarding process, and we hung out in the lounge. Had nice lounges, man, really nice lounges, and they had Baileys. So I tried to consume all their Baileys in my coffee that I could. That's an ironic thing. you're drinking coffee, which stimulates you somewhat, and then you add the alcohol to it, which is a depressant. I think my body was saying, "No, where do you want to go? You want to go to sleep? Do you want to wake up? You want to, you're going to stay awake on this flight?" So it was cool. Then she said the party was good. It was very low key and quiet, so to speak. wasn't a crazy thing. I think people were just emotionally drained.
Yeah.
Where you exhale and say, it's where you want to have a cigarette type thing.
It was an adrenaline dump, and I'll tell you what, if you want to know for sure that what you're putting in your body is going to direct your body to behave in the right way, can I recommend Blue Chew?
Yes, please do.
I'm going to tell you, Jim, as I've heard some old timers say, man, it'll get it so hard even a cat couldn't scratch it.
That's
I don't
right,
even know
buddy.
what that means, but I think it's a compliment. I think it's good.
It is good.
Think about this, man. Blue Chew is not just for guys who have a problem. It can help you there. It's really for guys who want to put on a 5-star performance. They want to leave a lasting memory. They're looking for a return match, if you will.
Yeah.
Blue Chew is a unique online service, delivers you the same active ingredients as Viagra, Cialis, and Levitra, but in chewable form and at a fraction of the cost. So it gets you hard on the cheap. How about that? Take them anytime, day or night. Plan ahead or be ready whenever an opportunity arises. And the process is simple. You'll sign up at bluechew.com. You'll consult with one of their licensed medical providers. And once you're approved, you'll receive your prescription within days. And here's the best part. It's all done online. That means no visits to the doctor's office, no awkward conversation, no waiting in line at the pharmacy. Blue Chew's tablets are made right here in the USA, prepared and shipped directly to your door, all in a discreet package. But there won't be anything discreet about your package. Blue Chew wants to help you have better sex. Discover your options at bluechew.com. Chew it and do it. And we got a special deal for our listeners. Try Blue Chew free when you use our promo code JR at checkout. Just pay the $5 shipping. That's bluechew.com. The promo code JR will hook you up. Receive your first month for free. Visit bluechew.com for more details and important safety information. And we want to thank Blue Chew for sponsoring today's podcast and our good times.
Yeah, they've been a loyal sponsor. And like, Conrad, you made a good point about a week or two ago. You made others, but a week or two ago, you said that we have these sponsors that come back because we give them results.
Yes.
And Blue Chew gives you results. It gives everybody results.
Yes.
I had a nice stash of Blue Chew on my trip to London.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Didn't use them.
Just in case, though. It's like
you got to, like you said, if something comes up.
Yes, right.
You don't know who you're going to meet in an elevator. You
go.
So anyway, I still got my stash. So I brought them from London to Atlanta to Norman, which is it's kind of fun here this week too. It's celebratory in the sense that our football team Sooners kick off this Saturday. It's going to be very, very hot. They're warning people about staying hydrated, et cetera, et cetera. So it's going to be football week. It's like having football week in Tuscaloosa or something.
Oh, no doubt.
Everybody in town participates.
Yes.
And I think it's just cool as hell. And so it's going to be fun week. I'm leaving early Saturday morning. I mean, really early, 7 o'clock hour to go to Chicago, because I got that thing called Starrcast that I'm excited about being a part of and meeting fans. And you and I are going to do a little thing on the stage.
That's right.
So that should be always fun. Nice conversation. It'll be the longest conversation that you and I've had for a while. So it'll be good, man. It'll be good. So, and then we have the pay-per-view on Sunday. Then I'll come back to Oklahoma on Monday. That's my little week. That's a good week. So. Oh,
and Collision. How about Collision on Saturday? That's going to be a big show. I mean, tickets are on sale now. Make your plans to join us. AEWTIX.com can hook you up with Collision tickets or the pay-per-view. And let me just say this. I realize this is a unique circumstance with there being pay-per-views a week apart.
Yeah.
When has AEW not delivered on pay-per-view? AEW always delivers on pay-per-view. As we're speaking right now, Takeshita and Kenny Omega has already been announced. For a lot of folks, that's a dream match. I mean, I know they wrestled a long time ago in DDT or some other Japanese.
But who watched it?
That's right. This is a big stage.
Tape traders or somebody like that. It was not mass distributed.
That's
they
right.
Didn't have a big. They didn't have a big audience in that respect. But they did work. They did have a match. So, and I'm waiting on this one. This is a whole different scenario. Yes. Kenny has gotten better, without a doubt.
Yes.
However, so has Takeshita.
You got it.
So you're getting guys peaking. So I think that match on pay-per-view is going to be a kick-ass performance for both guys. And so, like you said, we deliver on pay-per-view. We've been trying to deliver on Collision, and the ratings are holding up pretty decent on Collision because Saturday night is a wasteland. It's hard to find your audience to find you. There's a lot of distractions, a lot of things they want to see. And now the football is here. Hello, knock on the door. Football's back. So we got to be really good. And hopefully folks will, if they don't watch, they're going to watch their favorite team, they'll tape a Collision and then watch the show. Watch it on Sunday morning or something, but I expect Collision to be really good because in theory, Conrad, in old school theory, that's the last time we have to sell the pay-per-view.
That's right.
It's Saturday night on Collision, right? So right. I can't imagine it not being a good show, and the best will rise to the occasion like they did in London.
AEW always delivers on pay-per-view. They're going to deliver for you too. Make plans to join them. There's some great opportunities to get some really affordable tickets right now at the United Center, AEWTIX.com. And I should also mention, JR gave us a little shameless plug, and I appreciate that. The festivities begin as you're listening to this tomorrow. Friday night, we're going to have a lot of the stars of AEW, and we're going to have one panel discussion after another across 2 stages. Funny guys like Danhausen talking to some of the AEW talent. We've got some game shows with some of the AEW talent, and we've even got Tony Khan on stage. Tony Khan has been the mastermind behind all of this AEW business since the very beginning, and the original All In, sort of the proof of concept for him. So 5 years later, and just a few days after the biggest show in history, we've got Tony Khan on a Starrcast stage for the very first time. And as our friend Cody Rhodes would say, what do you want to talk about? There's going to be a lot to talk about with Tony Khan. Renee will have Saraya on. We just announced Adam Cole's going to be there. Sting's going to be there. John Moxley. And how about Kawada? You and I have not talked about this yet, JR, but Kawada is one of those 4 pillars. If you were a student of the game and you grew up on Japanese wrestling and tape trading, as JR alluded to earlier, you are a huge fan of Kawada. And Eddie Kingston, that's like his hero. The reason Eddie Kingston wrestles in black and yellow, Kawada. And they're going to be on stage together. This will be his very first autograph appearance anywhere in the world ever. This is his first time in the United States in over 35 years. If you're a hardcore wrestling fan, you need to get to Chicago. You need to grab a bracelet. You need to meet Kawada. You can do it at STARRCAST.com. And if you can't make it to Chicago, man, don't you want to hear from Tony Khan? Don't you want to hear from Saraya? Don't you want to hear from Danhausen? And more importantly, don't you want to hear from JR and Kawada? It's StarrcastOnPremiere.com is where you can find that. That's StarrcastOnPremiere.com. It's crazy, Jim. I saw somebody last week on Twitter, as soon as it was announced about the pay-per-view next year at Wembley, say, man, you guys next week should just call this all week. Because you're going to have a Wednesday show, a Friday show, a Saturday show, a Sunday pay-per-view, and then a Wednesday, a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday pay-per-view. And I explained that to yesterday to Tony Schiavone for his podcast, What Happened When, and he said, well, maybe next week we will call it all week, but the performers this week, like myself, when we come home on Monday morning, we're going to call it all worn out.
Yeah, all sleep. All sleep. It's hard to get your body, your clock back, but I stayed up last night as late as I could, last night being Tuesday. Today Wednesday?
Today's Wednesday.
Yeah, today's Wednesday. Golly. So I stayed up as long as I could, and it didn't work as well as I wanted it to. I found myself awakened at 4 a.m., still sitting in my chair. That damn chair, man, puts me down. something else. So I got the big recliner, the big, it's got an electric motor that lets you put your feet up.
Oh, there you
put
go.
your head back or whatever. It's good. All soft leather, cool. It's really neat. I'm talking about my chair. Well, I was expecting more all in, but JR just want to talk about his goddamn chair.
Hey, let's talk about the matches. We touched on the main event. It was a phenomenal story. I had, I have to be honest, I had low expectations because I thought, man, this is babyface deal. I don't know, but they told such a great story in the build of the match and then the actual match itself. I'm excited to see what's next. I don't think this story is done. I think that we'll see more of it this week and certainly this weekend, but I really enjoyed it. They went 29 minutes. MJF retains.
That surprised me a little bit, as a matter of fact, Conrad, in the way that he retained. I thought that MJF would go back on the villain side.
Yes.
I thought that he would turn heel again in the inside vernacular. So that surprised me that did not occur. But they did tell a great story. If you paid attention to it, it's one of those matches that has so many nuances.
Yes.
That if you care to spend a little bit, 29 minutes or 30 minutes, and watch it again, you're going to see and hear things that you didn't expect,
right?
Or that you missed.
Yes.
It's kind of like watching an episode of the Sopranos or Deadwood, two of my favorites back in the day. They're so dialogue driven and dialogue heavy that you hear things. Oh, I know what he meant now. Whatever. I know what Tony meant when he said this to Silvio or whatever.
Right.
So, the same thing with this match. Little nuances I thought were brilliantly done by MJF and Adam Cole. I was feeling MJF has some great outings.
No doubt.
Adam Cole has not, because he's been away. He was injured, and he had to get himself back ready to go, and he did. Those guys went hard for those 30 minutes. They didn't just lay in a rear chin lock.
That's right.
I thought they did really well in that regard. And it had a lot of things in it that we were expecting to see. A ref bump, as we just saw there. But I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop. And MJF hit with a nut shot or something like that. But, it never came, which I think is a mark of good booking. That we do a little off-speed pitch there. So those two dudes delivered. And here's the other thing, folks, you got to think about. How great this match was. We're all bragging on it. We're all excited about it. But it was the last thing of the night. They followed everything, Connie.
That's right.
They followed everything. So I think those two guys deserve a big pat on the back, and any kind of praise that we can heap upon them, we should. Because there you see the finish. It was a wrestling hold that won the match. Inside cradle. And I wish the announcers around the world would call this an inside cradle and not a small package. What are you going to do next? Call it Carney? Smijazal Piazakage. El Mysterio Enchilada Cucumber. I don't know.
El Mysterio Cucumber Enchilada is a shirt available now. Small package, fun fact, was Dave Silva's nickname in high school. So listen, man, I really enjoyed the main event. I agree with you. It was going to be a tough show to follow, because you do have not just can you follow all the matches that happened before and can you top all of that, but just from a fan engagement standpoint, there is an adrenaline dump after some of these matches. You can't stay at a fever pitch for 4 hours. You got to go up and down. And through the course of that match, they got people invested. I thought they did a great job. And I know the story's not done. I actually was thinking it was going to go the other way, Jim. I thought Adam Cole was going to turn heel.
Yeah, I thought that was a possibility, Connie.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens this weekend. But what we do know happened is the House of Black dropped their trios titles, and the Acclaimed with badass Billy Gunn, not just daddy ass, but badass Billy Gunn. They're now the trios champs. The Acclaimed seem like I don't know, maybe some of Tony Khan's pride and joy, man. These guys have been over for a while, and it was all maybe a happy accident, and it was really organic. So happy for these guys. And man, what can you say about Billy Gunn? It feels like he's timeless. He's found the fountain of youth, and they left with some gold. How about that for a Wembley story?
Surprised me. It did surprise me. I'm a big House of Black fan, and still am. The one loss don't mean nothing.
No,
Doesn't mean a thing. It just means that the baby faces got acknowledged for their efforts and how the people felt about them, and it was just good. It was just really, really cool. And those kids work hard. You know, they're homegrown. You know, hell, I never heard of Max Caster. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Bowens, and of course Billy's been a friend of mine for 30 years. Seems like.
Right.
I'll tell you this: I dressed in the same locker room with Billy Gunn. He is a monster.
Yes, he is.
This son of a bitch is bigger than a house, and there's a nice comparison size wise, but he's just toned and he looks great. He's working hard to look great. There's my little lady that I helped get through security. Somebody said something, and I said she's my daughter because, you know, I can say she's a wrestler. I can say she's a wrestler, and she is. But she was and on that going through security, she was my daughter, and the fans were marks, as they say, and they just let her come with me. Same way getting into the club, which is only for first class and business class flyers. But I did see Big Satnam Singh in there. Shivani was in there. Trying to think who else showed up. Some of the crew. But anyhow, it was really neat. So I was surprised at that finish. I like to be surprised. So we'll see how far this run goes for Acclaim. I don't see any reason to cut it short. They're young and they're healthy. Then you got Billy Gunn there as that extra ingredient.
Yes.
So and that's another big bastard right there. There's two big men right there, fellas, ladies and gentlemen.
Brody King is a hoss as well. Oof. And I actually watched the show with WWE ran a house show right down the street from my house that day. So I had some of my WWE friends over to watch, and I won't say their names. I don't want to get anybody in trouble, but one of my friends said, "Hey, that guy, he's good." Talking about Brody King.
Yeah, I agree.
Be complimentary about Brody. So shout out to Brody. And shout out to Will Ospreay and Chris Jericho. I know Chris Jericho got to live his rock and roll fantasy, sort of recreating a Queen moment.
Yeah.
With that crowd play and then singing his own theme song in Wembley. Pretty cool entrance, but man, arguably the best wrestler in the world out there, represented by Don Callis, Mr. Will Ospreay. Ospreay gets the win in about 15 minutes. I had really high expectations for Ospreay. He delivered. I think he is a made man at this point, not just a star in Japan, but a star or a star in the UK, but a star all over the world.
Correct.
I'm interested to see, what happens with him. The rumor and innuendo is that he's got a contract coming up, and I'd like to see him in AEW on a more regular basis. How about you?
Me too. Oh yeah, absolutely. That adds a lot of quality depth to your roster. And he's just getting in, he's just getting into his wheelhouse, his groove at that age and experience. So he would be a great addition if we had the opportunity to sign him up, because he can work with anybody.
That's right.
He can work as a babyface. He can work as a heel. He's innovative. His offense is very creative. He's not afraid to take bumps. He's not afraid of contact. So, and I thought, if people were wondering, the age difference between these two cats is significant.
Oh, yeah.
But Jericho stayed right there.
He did.
There was no slowdown. There was no step back. There was no extended rear chin locks. It was a really good match. Loved it. And I was proud of Chris. Like you said, Connie, he got to live his dream singing before 80,000 plus. I wonder how many people, Conrad, do you think were actually in the arena? We knew that 80,000 and what was it, 80,035 or something like that?
I think it's 81,035 paid.
Okay.
Yeah.
Paid.
Yes.
That's a key thing. And it was a legitimate paid.
Yes.
Because I know people.
Yes.
And I said, we're going to give a real number. We're going to bullshit wrestling here. No. Whatever this announced is exactly what it is. but there were more people than that in the arena because there were comps.
That's right.
There were, as I know it sounds stupid, but there were workers, there's staff. Yep. There's probably, somebody mentioned to me that they would guess that the attendance was closer to 90,000 than 81,000. You count all those other folks.
That's the number that Tony Khan gave at the media scrum after the show. That if you just count total number of heartbeats in the building, so all the staff, all the attendants, people working the concessions and the merch, and the AEW crew and the comps, right, it was closer to 90,000. But the result is, no matter what we want to say and how we want to slice or dice it, the largest paid attendance in wrestling history. And speaking of wrestling history, it kind of snuck up on us, but we should remind everybody that WrestleQuest from MegaCat Studios is now available. And WrestleQuest is a love letter to classic role-playing games, the pixel art of our youth, and the golden era of professional wrestling. Powerbomb your way through a massive game where the worlds of toys, action figures, and wrestling collide. This is a sweaty, spectacular pro wrestling take on the cherished Japanese role-playing game genre, with over 40 hours of core story content and more than 24 fully licensed pro wrestling legends like Macho Man Randy Savage, like Andre the Giant, like Jake the Snake, like DDP, like Jeff Jarrett, like the Road Warriors. And believe it or not, I think this is the very first game Bruiser Brody has ever been in. The list of talent here spans decades and various promotions featuring talent from all over the world. More than just statues, you see each legend has their own side quest, and players can earn their wrestler's signature gear or the right to call upon their finishing moves in combat. In some cases, the wrestler can even join the player as their manager. You can cut promos on your opponents before fighting them in the ring and customize your walkout routine with theme music and pyro and all the other effects. Of course, this is all happening in the brand new game WrestleQuest, available now for PC, consoles, and mobile. That's WrestleQuest, available now for PC, consoles, and mobile. And I tell you what, you want to talk about a video game type match. How about that tag match with Christian Cage and Swerve Strickland teaming up to take on Sting and Darby Allin? They were in a coffin match, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. But before we do, we want to make sure that you guys know that Starrcast is upon us. We've mentioned some of the different talent that you'll see there. We just announced that Adam Cole is going to be joining us fresh off of that main event. It is really a who's going to be at this. This is your opportunity to come meet the folks, get your pictures, get your autographs, the whole deal. But also, too, you're going to hear conversations you can't hear anywhere else. We got Jake the Snake on stage. We got Rob Van Dam on stage. We got Powerhouse Hobbs starting his new podcast. How about Renee talking to Soraya? Danhausen is there. There's a game show with AEW stars. Tony Khan, and we're going to get to pick his brain just days after the biggest show in wrestling history. You just know that's going to be newsworthy. JR is going to be there. Jeff Jarrett's going to be there. And I can't believe it, but Kawada. Boys and girls, if you're a hardcore wrestling fan, this could be your once-in-a-lifetime chance. I mean, I've heard it from Kawada's people. He's never done an autograph signing. We sort of had to run through what to expect because he's never done one before. And he hasn't been here in America in over 35 years. This is your chance. Come meet Kawada. It's starrcast.com. That's STARRCAST.com. And if you can't make it to Chicago, man, I get it. Watch along with us at home at starrcastonpremiere.com. And I want to remind you, when you order Starrcast VI, you also get Starrcast 1 through 5 included. So you're talking about all the panels from 2018 and 2019 and even last year in Nashville. You get all of that included with your purchase. It's the best value in wrestling, and the Premier Streaming Network, they're actually throwing in their Premier Plus for an extra couple of weeks. You're going to pick up that showcase event they've got coming as well. It's starrcastonpremiere.com. But, man, I really want to pick your brain, Jim, about Christian Cage and Swerve Strickland taking on Sting and Darby Allin. One of the great things about this show is it afforded the talent the big entrance. Yeah. And I know it sounds silly, but, boy, the production, it was just – there's nothing like it. You don't get this in boxing. You don't get this in MMA. And I love Swerve Strickland's entrance. It felt real. I have become such a huge Swerve fan. I'm convinced that Swerve is going to be a world champion many times over.
Do you really?
to be in the main event. He is the guy. But he took on Sting and Darby Allin. Darby Allin's already a made man. What else can we say about Sting?
He rose to the occasion. I was going to say before you chewed out Silva's ass that much like Jericho, Sting also overachieved. He pushed himself to another to a limit and another rise up. I thought I was just so proud of him too, and I know that he was excited about it. I think Sting had his son there. Boy, he's a big kid. He ought to be wrestling.
Really.
I think so.
Man, that's awesome. You know, I don't know if I'm betraying any confidences here, but you know, Sting's a grandpa now. I mean, that young of his finally did him right. How about that?
That's great. Yeah, a good-looking kid too. But that was Sting and myself, Jericho to a lesser degree, because Jericho's not going to stop doing things until it's just too late. he's going to keep going. Sting's a guy that at some point he's going to say, "Look, I've done everything. I am a grandfather. My health is good. Let's keep it good, and let's overachieve." And he did that, boy. He overachieved, I thought. And I don't mean that in a negative way at all. More to the contrary. Very positive. But our two big veterans there, both of them, Jericho's north of 50, right?
Oh, yeah.
And of course, we know Sting's north of 50. Sting has come a long way since the days of the Blade Runners.
Oh, yeah. You think?
In Mid-South, but I do like the fact that Watts saw something in Sting he didn't see in the Ultimate Warrior. And there's if you're watching us on YouTube, which you should be, Darby is just phenomenal.
Man, that bump on that coffin, is that one of the craziest things you've ever seen, Jim?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, he's fearless, man. He really truly, I know it sounds cliche for, the old wrestling announcer to start espousing all these wonderments, but golly, he's just fearless.
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing he won't try. And I would suggest, and I don't know this for a fact, but I would imagine if you're a fly on the wall sitting in on his pregame, that you'd hear him suggest things that didn't happen because they were too risky. He has no bounds, no boundaries. So great kid. I love him. He is a huge star in AEW, and it's just a matter of the quote unquote run away before he's a champion again, and it could happen as early as this weekend.
I can't wait to see what's next. I mean, there's so much talent there, so much going on with those four, and there's lots of rumor and innuendo about Christian Cage. First of all, he cut a blistering promo on TV last week against Nick Wayne that, man, I thought, whew, that's about as good as a promo gets as far as getting a reaction from fans. But there's lots of rumor and innuendo about Edge and what's going to happen next with his WWE contract. I think we all understand that it's expiring soon. And what will he do? Will he or won't he? And there's lots of rumor and innuendo before he came back. Was he close to signing with AEW? And I, as a fan of the Attitude Era, can't help but get excited about the possibility of an Edge and Christian together in AEW as a tag team, maybe going out together, but along the way, matches with them against the Young Bucks, matches with them against FTR, one more time against the Hardys. There's so much opportunity for those guys. Yeah. The Acclaimed, I mean, that would be just a lot of fun opportunities. I'm not saying you have the inside track, and if you do, I don't want you to give us any spoilers, but as a fan, it's pretty easy to get excited about Edge and Christian being back together again, if that's a possibility, right?
Well, yeah, of course it is. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But I it's funny, and all the time I was around the talents this past weekend, I never heard one talent ask me about Sting. It just didn't come up. There was business at hand that is laying right before us to take care of, but I don't know that. Now, maybe after the show and at the after party or something like that I did not attend, as I mentioned, I was tired. That's all. I was tired. So, but yeah, it'd be great. I haven't given it much thought. I mean, there's so many. It's not like, I mean, how about Sting, or excuse me, how about Edge and Kenny Omega?
Oh man.
Things like that. I think Edge and Will Ospreay. And there's a million ways to monetize this potential.
Yes.
But I don't have any inside information. I don't know if it's even feasible. I have heard through the grapevine that WWE has an offer on the table for him.
Yes.
It's significant, as it should be. So I don't know. I think it would be a long shot at very, very best that Steen comes to work for AEW. I signed him and Christian on the same day together back in the day, and I think they're the grandiose salary of $210 a week. And well, they were indie wrestlers. They're from Toronto, the Toronto area, and so they hadn't been making any money. So not only did I do that, I think I might have advanced them some cash. I know that I paid off Edge's college debt. I did that. I remember doing that. We wrote the college a check to pay for his college education, student loans. That's what I'm trying to think of.
Yes.
So WWE paid for Edge's student loans, thanks to JR. I thought it was the right thing to do. He finished a mission. And that's one of the coolest things about hiring talent. When you get lucky and you find an athlete that has gone through a system and has succeeded, that they have the opportunity and maybe the forethought to do the same thing. Finish a project. Finish your assignment. And but he and Christian have just they've overachieved. They've both done well. I thought when the powers that be broke them up, it might not be the best thing to do, but I was partial without question. So but I have no inside stuff. I think again, my quote would be, JR thinks it's going to be a long shot at best if Edge ever competes, if Adam Copeland ever competes, because it won't be Edge, it'll be Adam Copeland ever competes in AEW. Would I like to see it happen? Well, hell yeah, I'm a wrestling fan. Look, those matches just came off my top of my head that I'm sure other fans are right on top of, and agree. Would you like to see Edge and Chris Jericho? Would you like to, hell yeah. So yeah, he would fit in, but I don't know what his goals are. I don't know how Adam wants to work, 4 or 5 times a year or whatever. That's the thing you got to be careful of, getting these contracts and getting guys, and you're limited on when you can use them. So anyway, it'll all work out in the wash, as Granny used to say. At some point in time, we'll know. And selfishly, as a fan, I'd love to see him in this company, and I think he would be a great addition, because he's another one of those guys at this stage of his life who's ready, willing, and able to help the younger talents.
That's right.
I'm not talking just putting them over in the ring and getting pinned. I'm talking about before the show, after the show, that type of stuff. So we'll see, Conrad. It'll be an interesting talking point for the internet folks and others, but I think it's a long shot at best.
It led to a fun conversation at my house the other day. Like, hey, if that happens, what will they call him? Because of course WWE owns the name Edge, and somebody joked, well, I saw online that they might call him Perimeter, which of course makes me laugh. That won't be but his independent wrestling name was Sexton Hardcastle. Right. That could be funny, but I kind of think like you do. Maybe it's going to be Adam Copeland. Just come be the real you, man. How about that?
Why not? It eliminates the potential for legal issues.
That's right.
You can't legislate his real name. Anyway, that's how that worked. Hey, speaking of nostalgia, I'm sitting in my chair again. Here's the chair's getting more play than you and me, Connie. I was sitting in my chair yesterday, and my phone rang, and I looked down to see who it was. It was the King.
How about that, man? He made his return on Monday to the Live House in Memphis. That was super cool. Sporting a gray beard.
Yeah, I thought if you'd have told me that Lawler's going to make an appearance in Memphis on Raw, I would not have been surprised.
Right.
But if you told me that he's going to come on there, that's from Memphis, with a gray beard, gray as this, I would have said, not Lawler.
No chance.
No chance, baby. So him having that gray beard was a surprise. Then he sent me a selfie of himself. Oh God, he's childlike sometimes. You know he's feeling better. Then he sent me a selfie of himself with his beard, and we had a good 30-minute conversation. And I missed a call from Bob Caudle, and I understand why my friends are calling, because the weather in Jacksonville is not good right now, and we got to, the people down there got to pray that they're good, and they had to stop construction on my place, which may make me stay in Oklahoma a little bit longer, but I don't mind that either.
No.
So, when I get my direct TV back operable, which will be later today, as we talk. But I love there's so many things. Lawler was feeling better. That was a good part of my day. We talked about doing some autograph shows together, a little tour. And I think that's going to happen.
Good.
The two of us, because that combination, without sounding egocentric, and I know, there's a lot of good announcers right now. There's really a lot of good announcers are doing their best work, which is great. I can hear some of my phraseology in everybody, certain things, certain phrases, right. Certain, so. But talking to Jerry was great, and I think we would do very well in the autograph world. I'm making more of those appearances, and enjoying the hell out of it. I really am. I think that's a good thing. So if I can get Lawler healthy, and we can get Lawler healthy with prayers and good wishes, I know he's got to get his knee replaced. I don't know when that's going to be, but he's 70. I'm 71. He's older than me. He's 72 or 3. So that was a fun phone call, but I missed the phone call while I was on the line. I couldn't figure out, all due respect to technology, I couldn't figure out how to put one call on hold and answer the other. So I missed a call from Bob Caudle.
Oh man.
Yeah, and I'm going to call him back today and chat with him. Because like I said, I know that a lot of my friends are calling or texting, "Are you okay?" They don't know I'm here in Oklahoma.
Right.
So they think I'm riding the storm out in Jacksonville. And I was going to have to get out of Jacksonville anyway because of the construction. And then the weather changed that again. But it's still, I'm here in Oklahoma. I'm going to be here another probably a couple of weeks, maybe 3. So we'll see how it works out. But I had a good day yesterday, talking to Lawler, getting a call from Bob Caudle, 2 of my partners. Back in the day, so it was fun. It's funny how the little things mean so much to you, Conrad. The older we get,
yep.
Get a phone call from somebody like those guys out of the blue, unsolicited, was just a joy. Made me feel good.
Well, you made us feel good the other day at All In. Let's wrap that show up. We had the 4-way with the women. We have a new women's champion, Saraya. She came out to Queens We Will Rock You with her whole family. It was a nice, heartwarming moment for those who saw that movie. And I don't know what else there is to say about it, man. You had, Tony Storm, who are certainly representing her home country, and Britt Baker, just over like Rover. Sheeta had one of the best runs as a women's champion there for AEW so far. And when it's all said and done, Saraya gets her moment in the sun,
right.
Considering her real life story of being told she'll never wrestle again, and then managing to overcome and being able to come back, and now winning the world title for the first time in AEW in Wembley. That's just crazy, dude.
Yes, it's a storybook booking.
It's
if you stop for a second and think about it, it's really, Conrad, the only finish that I would have said, yeah, I'll sign off on that deal.
Right.
They'll work out the match, do all that stuff, but Saraya going over and having her moment in her home country in front of her family was cool as hell. So yeah, that was good, and I'm happy for her. I hope that I'd like to see her in singles matches a little bit more.
Yes.
I'd like to see her more involved in that respect. But which tells me she's healthy, and I think that's really cool.
Super cool. Before that, we saw yet another really fun match. FTR, or I'm sorry, we had the Stadium Stampede. John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Santana, and Ortiz taking on the best friends, Chuck Taylor and Trent Beretta and Orange Cassidy, along with Penta and Eddie Kingston. This had something for everybody, and I mean it, like to the point where Orange Cassidy brings a bucket out, puts duct tape on his hands backwards, so the sticky part's on the outside, breaks a glass, dips it in the broken glass. Barbed wire boards. I mean, like one crazy thing after another, including skewers hanging out of the head of John Moxley, arguably the biggest star in the whole match, running around with skewers in his head.
That was a moment, Connie. That
Yes.
was I in my almost 50 years in wrestling, I had never seen someone's head be like a pincushion and the skewers sticking out of their head. You can't, as the insider term would say, you can't work that.
No.
Something's going to penetrate your epidermis and your skull. I don't know how tough Moxley is, but goddamn, man, he is tough. I mean, that was all his idea.
Yeah.
It was all his idea. There you see a little demonstration of how it all came about. But the fans seemed to like that match. It was just a little, look at this. If you're watching again on YouTube, you should be. Moxley bleeding, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It looks like 6 or 8 of those skewers sticking out of his head. God dang. I can't even, it's hard to describe. I'd love to call that scenario because it was really good, man. So, but Moxley's he's a breed above. Oh, and by the way, I also got a phone call yesterday from Stone Cold.
Oh yeah, how's he doing?
He's good. He don't want a job. He doesn't want a job, Conrad. No, he's good. He's working on some new projects. He's getting into some kind of, there's a word for it. I can't think of it right now, but it's basically where he's going to start racing these. They look like the stuff that you go deer hunting and things like that in, those little.
Side by sides.
Yeah. So he's looking at doing some racing, and he's so funny. Everything is equated to the wrestling business. He says, I know I'm green, but just like wrestling, I wasn't worth a shit when I was getting trained by Chris Adams, but I kept working and learning. And he said, now I've got kids that are 12 and 13 years old, who've been racing since they were 6, that I got to compete with. So he's just funnier than hell, and he's enjoying life, and he's healthy, feels good. And we didn't talk. He didn't watch the London show, but he didn't watch any wrestling hardly at all. Every now and then you'll see him online comment about something that's topical, but he's not watching any new content. It's just not his thing anymore. So, but he was the best to ever do it in my book, and he made a lot of people a lot of money. And at the end of the day, when they say it's not about the cash, good old JR, it's all about the cash, right? So anyway, I had a good phone day yesterday. My cable might have been out and my DirecTV or whatever, but I did get some nice phone calls.
Well, you have a good day every day because you start with a delicious scoop of AG1.
Yeah, sir.
You and I have been on this train for a while. We feel like we're more productive. We have more clarity. We have more focus. We have more energy. And that's all because of AG1. And if you haven't tried it already, what are you waiting for? Listen, let me just go ahead and make it a little easier for you. It tastes great. And that's hard to find a supplement that actually tastes good.
Ain't that the truth?
If you hate taking pills or vitamins, this is for you, man. 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's all you got to do. It's going to give you everything you're looking for. It sets you up for success. It's a foundational nutritional supplement that delivers comprehensive nutrients for whole body health. Said differently, AG1 will replace your multivitamin, your probiotic, and it makes it one simple drinkable habit. Think of it as a micro habit with macro results. It's a science-driven formulation of vitamins, probiotics, and whole food source superfoods. It's helped set the standard in the supplement category, and it's going to help you build your health foundation first because you got 75 high-quality vitamins and probiotics and whole food source superfood ingredients. I mean, think about that. All that's just in one scoop. Think of it as like your all-in-one nutritional insurance. My wife does it on the way to the gym every morning, and on the off chance she misses a day, she tells me she can feel it. She recognizes the difference. She's not as effective in the gym. And I've missed a day or two here or there, I must admit. And I feel that afternoon sluggishness. Some of us maybe have to do a little cat nap, or at least wish we could, around 3 or 3:30. That never happens when I start my day with AG1. If you're looking to support better gut health, better immune system, a boost in energy, maybe you just want to have more clarity, more focus, dude, this is the way to do it. It's one delicious scoop of AG1. And if you're looking for a simpler, more effective investment for your health, we want you to try AG1 and get 5 free AG1 travel packs while you're at it, plus a free 1-year supply of vitamin D with your first purchase. This is all possible at drinkag1.com/JR. Go to drinkag1.com/JR. Check it out. That's drinkag1.com/JR.
Good stuff. It works. That's another one another sponsor we have that they're very loyal. They're here every week. And the reason that they're with us is because we sell product. And but really the product sells itself. Once you try it, you'll say, why haven't I done this earlier? I feel noticeably better, and with no hangovers. Yeah, I saw a guy on the plane the other day coming back from London that started, he was sitting across the aisle from me, and he had a goddamn baggie of pills, and they were his vitamins and his supplements. I'm thinking, God dang, man, you need to try AG1 and get rid of all that shit.
Yes.
It's just so much more. It's just simpler. It dissolves fast. I mean, look at it. It's just powder. And like Conrad said, it don't taste like crap. It tastes good. It tastes good. And so it doesn't run you away from, I don't want to take this morning. It tastes horrible. No, it doesn't. It tastes good. So try it, everybody. You see their commercials on national television. I assume that during football, they'll be advertising more as well. So it works. AG1. drinkag1.com/JR, and you'll get everything that we've talked about delivered to your door.
Let's talk about the other match that everybody was excited about, and you were on the call for: FTR versus the Young Bucks, the rubber match.
Yeah.
They've met twice before, and they got it done here. And I got to tell you, going into this, I just assumed, given, what you read online, well, the Young Bucks are going over. It didn't happen. FTR get the win. This was a super fun match. They go 22 minutes. FTR retains the tag titles. Wade Keller gave it 4 1/4 stars. It felt like the gear that the Young Bucks were wearing was inspired by Freddie Mercury. Man, this was such a cool moment from the first All In to here, to think that, hey, can you guys ever sell 10,000 tickets? Well, how's 81,000 tickets sound? And the Young Bucks are right in the middle of it with a team that a lot of people once upon a time thought were dream opponents for the Young Bucks. FTR comes out with the dub. What'd you think?
Surprised a little bit, to be honest with you. I like the fact we're showing on YouTube here, FTR extending their hands in sportsmanship, the Young Bucks looking at the hands and turning around and leaving. I thought that was a great piece of creative.
Yes.
And I also believe, without too much extended hyperbole, that these are the 2 best working tag teams in wrestling right now. I know that's a controversial statement, and it's not going to be agreed upon by everybody, certainly, and I'm not looking for that. But nonetheless, it was. I thought the 2 best teams in pro wrestling, no matter where you look, worldwide, had a hell of an outing. They looked really good in what they were doing, and they told a great story. Hard work was prevalent. The common sense and logic was prevalent. So I couldn't have been prouder. I talked to the Bucks before the show, and they said, what are you calling today? Because nobody really knew. And I told them the first 4 matches. They said, great, you got our match. So I was really excited that they were excited. And but I said on the air that the FTR reminds me of the Midnight Express.
Yes.
And the Midnight Express were wrestling heels. They could wrestle with you, and then when they got out wrestled, as in the tradition, when they were out wrestled, then they started cheating, taking
Yes.
shortcuts. So, but I thought both teams had a stellar nights. Really proud to be on the call, and it reminded me of some of those heated Rock and Roll Express versus Midnight Express battles that I called in Mid-South way back in the day. So they're wrestling heels, are FTR, and of course the Young Bucks. It's funny, the audience. The nicer you are, or the more of a baby face you try to be, sometimes it goes against the grain of the audience.
Yeah.
And they just going to boo for the hell of it. So that was kind of how I saw that. I love the match. Those teams should be proud of it. It should be something that they have access to in one of their devices where they can go back and watch it like on a plane ride or something, because they're going to be proud of their work. They're going to be happy they did. And I was really happy and lucky that I got to call that one.
Just a fantastic match, a fantastic moment. And as we're working backwards through the show, we had Kenny Omega on second, teaming with Kota Ibushi and Hangman Adam Page. As Hangman said, the two best tag team partners he ever had, taking on Jay White, who, if you're not familiar with his game, you should pay some attention. Boy, this guy has put on some clinics in New Japan. He's beat Okada and everybody else. Juice Robinson, I think, has been the breakout star that he finally deserves some of that limelight. I know he doesn't really play the social media game, but that dude, he as JR would say, he knows how to maximize his minutes.
Right.
He's a scene stealer. And Takeshita feels like the chosen one, the next in line. We know what he's doing this weekend against Kenny Omega. What a 6-man tag this was. A really fun outing. Wade Keller gave it 4 stars. They went 21 minutes. It told a great story. I really enjoyed this, and it felt like at this point, man, we're having nothing but home runs. What'd you think?
Yeah, I loved it. I really did. I'm with you, Conrad. Totally agree. Loved the openness and the fact that everybody was willing to give something. And that's what you got to do. You got to be selfless. You can't be selfish. And nobody was selfish in that encounter. And sometimes those 6-mans, one guy here, one guy there on that team kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Nobody got lost.
That's right.
Nobody got lost. And the other thing I thought was kind of cool to show you how good Kenny Omega is that when it was his turn to turn it on, brother, he turned it on.
Oh yeah, he did.
He's amazing. He's an amazing talent. So I think Kenny Omega is just I'm all those. Look at this assemblage of talent.
It's unbelievable.
Osprey and all these cats that are kind of new for us on AEW, and I just thought it was great. I thought Kenny, when it was time for the stars to shine, they shined very brightly. Speaking specifically of Kenny Omega, and not the other guys didn't do well. Don't get me wrong. One guy can't save a 6-man.
That's right.
But one guy can help make the 6-man spectacular. And I thought that's what Kenny Omega did with his partners and his adversaries. So really a cool experience. And I think the order of the matches were changed a little bit. Hey, all I know is, I say this all the time to the other announcers, just put it on the goddamn monitor and we'll call it. Because
Yes.
I'm not going to worry about who's going to be here and who's going to be there and who's angry, who's not angry, whatever. I don't care. I just want the match to start so I can start working. And they did. And I did. And it was a fun experience. I really, really loved it. I got a nice text from Kenny. I guess he went back and found his match on one of his phone or whatever. He was very complimentary of my work. And he's kind of a fan of mine. And I'm a big fan of his. So, and when I leave wrestling, that's what I'm going to miss most. The interaction with the talents, not necessarily just on the calls, but
Right.
after the show, before the show, getting those nice text messages from guys that, don't have to do it. They want to do it. And I think that's a good, speaks well to their integrity and their character. So yeah, it was a good match. I'm lucky. I got a great draw on this. Tony Khan took great care of me on the matches. I was very very pleased with what I was signed to do. And, but that was one of the ones there too. I was hoping to, all the matches that you've talked about that I called were matches I really, in a perfect world, if I had to secretly write down the matches I'd like to do, that would certainly been one of them as well.
Jim, you mentioned it. I got to ask, because it's been reported, it's everywhere, that your contract ends in September. And as you and I are recording, September is right around the corner. Of course, Saturday, this Saturday, September 2nd, a Collision. This Sunday, September 3rd, is All Out. Will this be your last AEW pay-per-view? I mean, you said when I leave wrestling, and that almost sounded sort of ominous. I mean, are you
it's going to happen. Conrad, I'm 71 years old. I can't do this forever. Right. I feel like my work is pretty decent right now. My voice is strong. I don't want to sit home, but it takes two to tango. And like I said, I don't know what the expectations are of me in the AEW world. And like I said before, and I'll stick with the same story because it's true, and that is, it's up to Tony Khan in large part, and Barry Bloom, who's my agent. Barry Bloom represents the Young Bucks. I think Hangman Page. Golly, who else does he represent?
Kenny Omega.
Kenny. Oh yeah, of course. My God, Kenny Omega. I think he represents Don Callis, who's doing a good job. I have fun with Don, calling him a miserable prick.
Yes,
but he kind of likes it, and it fits him. So, but he's done a good job as a heel manager. And maybe it's a better term for it now. Escandoli, tope, espresso,
enchilada. Yeah,
enchilada. You got to get the enchilada in because that's the finish. So, but Don's done a good job, and I'm glad and I like busting his balls on the air. Did you hear me tell him thanks for the house?
Yes.
That's just old school wrestling.
Yes.
I first heard that spoken in the locker room in 1974. So I thought that might be appropriate for Don. He was speechless after that one. He didn't have a retort that I recall. So anyway, Don's done a great job too. So Barry represents a lot of guys, which means to me that Barry has good communication with AEW. Now, whether we get a deal done or we don't get a deal done, it remains to be seen. And if it works out, then I'm in, and if it doesn't work out, I'm out. It's that simple. And I'm not being nonchalant or cavalier about it. It's just that's the reality. I've negotiated too many contracts to know how these things can or cannot work. So, but hopefully it'll work out well. That's what I want. I want to stay there. Here or whatever, and we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, I'm not being flippant, and I'm serious about it. But I can't wave a magic wand and say, okay, here's my deal, and here's what I will do. I haven't made any demands at all. But I like the challenge of building Collision into a good show, a watchable show. And I know that during football season, there's going to be a lot of taped episodes consumed of Collision. People are going to watch their favorite team play. You're going to watch Alabama. I'm going to watch Oklahoma. Well, maybe not. I'll be doing the show. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. It's just a matter of getting all the ducks in order. And I also think it'll be a short negotiation. I'm very signable right now in that regard. So we'll see. I'm optimistic it's going to work out okay. But if it doesn't, then you'll be seeing me more on the autograph circuit and things like that nature. You never know what else might pop up. So I'm just, as Minnie Pearl would say, I'm just proud to be here.
Well, we're proud you're here too. We love catching up with you every week, and I'm glad to know that our contract isn't up anytime soon. We're going to keep trying to entertain you and make you laugh about old wrestling stories. And before we talk about some old wrestling stories, on a sad note, we should mention that the show that opened, or the match that opened the show, was CM Punk versus Samoa Joe for the AEW Real World's title. And of course, this was a dream match once upon a time that these guys would hook it up again. Of course, they did it a few months ago for the Owen Hart Memorial Cup, but this is on a big stage here. I love that spot where we saw Samoa Joe, instead of slinging, there you go. Silva's got us covered on YouTube. Instead of slinging Samoa Joe swinging CM Punk into the guardrail, he went right into the announce desk, and it was hollow underneath. So he just broke through the sign. What a great moment. What a great visual. Something I don't remember ever seeing before. And Punk had that crowd in the palm of his hand. When it's all said and done, though, he got the victory. He walked out with the world title, holding up number 1, and it all happened after a Pepsi plunge off the top rope. What'd you think, man? It's a heck of an opener for a pay-per-view, is it not?
Damn right it was. It was. I wanted to call that match probably more than any other match in my wish list, because I have so much respect for Punk and for Joe. Their work ethics, their sensibilities as how to construct a match from bell to bell. You saw two guys that probably both make great bookers at some point in time in their career if they were committed to do such. But I was so excited I got to call that match, and they make the announcer's job easy. They tell such a clearly defined story that we can embellish. You know, they make great music that's easy to create lyrics for. And so I was really pleased with that match. I thought they kicked ass, and proud to have called it. I looked down at my feet one time after that move that you just described, going through the bottom of the announce set. And there's Punk laying there. His head was poked out it was almost comical, but it wasn't, because it was physical as hell. There's some of the things they did, you just can't do easy.
That's right.
You just can't. They're physically tough. They're mentally tough. I love that kind of stuff, man. It just separates the boys from the men, so to speak. So anyhow, I thought it was a great match. Joe's just amazing. Knows how to get himself over and get the other guy over. Punk, same. So it was good stuff, man. It was. I was proud of those dudes, and they had an interesting. It was an interesting weekend for everybody. I saw online where somebody forgot to pick up Punk at the airport. Those things happened. I'm not condoning it, but they just happened. And he took the train from the airport from Heathrow down to Wembley, which I thought was kind of cool. It's almost CM Punk-esque when you think about it, Connie.
Yeah.
Him, Punk, riding on the train just like a civilian, so shall we say. And so it was good stuff. That wasn't good stuff that got left at the airport. Don't get me wrong, that's not good. But you're moving that many people around to different locations, and we didn't stay all in the same hotel, but most of us did. But you got different locations, you got different people coming in at different times from different airports. I think Don Callis arrived in London at around 2 or 3 hours before the show.
Oh wow!
Because of flight delays.
Yeah,
flight delays are just tough. So anyhow,
well, Jim, I wasn't going to bring it up, but you've mentioned it a little bit. Do you want to say anything about? I mean, I don't know. I'm trying to tiptoe through the tulips here, but obviously Jack Perry had a heck of a match with Hook, and I guess there was a controversial spot where glass was used, and allegedly there's reports that there was a backstage incident right before I think you came out to the ring or around that same time. And
I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I didn't know anything about it until after the show. I heard there was a little skirmish, a difference of opinion, and that was kind of,
By the way, I just want to mention, Jim, and you can add context to this. Guys disagreeing backstage is not necessarily a new concept.
No.
This is as old as the day is long, and it's on some level just silly wrestling stuff. And I hated that there was any sort of
me too
scuttlebutt or discussion about anything other than we set a freaking record, y'all.
Yeah, really.
$10.5 million at the gate, the largest paid attendance.
How much was the gate? 10 million?
Over 10.5 million is what I hear.
Wow, that's nice.
That's really nice. Yes. And that's not counting what they did on pay-per-view. And they're coming back. Like, there's so much great stuff going on. I wish that, and I know that, as you like to say sometimes, the dirt
Yeah.
I get that. But man, there's so much great stuff happening in wrestling right now.
Exactly.
I want people to just appreciate and take a minute to just go, man, can you believe it? I mean, shout out to Mike Mansouri and the whole team, Kevin Sullivan, and everybody who works tirelessly behind the scenes to put together such a spectacle like this. It's a high watermark, not only for AEW, but for all of professional wrestling. And the performers who were in that ring, man, they will talk about those matches and those moments, and those photographs will live on forever.
Right.
And for generations, they'll be signing pictures from that event at autograph signings and things like that. And man, whatever did or didn't happen backstage will be gone and forgotten in 2 weeks news cycle.
Absolutely.
It's not really important.
No.
What's really important is the number of fans that were there and that they all left just thrilled. And it's happening again next year. So kudos to you and Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone and all of the AEW cast and crew that we feel like we know.
All the Tonys.
All
let's just call them the Golden Tonys.
The gold. Why is everything golden? Which is a shirt available now over at grillingjrts.com.
I come up with some crazy bullshit sitting out there, Conrad. That just had nothing written down, but I kept hearing golden this and golden that, and I'm wondering, are there no other colors?
Yes.
Is it, why is everything golden? So that started with me kidding Don Callis about the guy that trained him,
right?
The Golden Sheik or whatever it was. I think it's called something like that. And I rode his ass hard on that deal just because
that's what you do.
It's kind of fun. And he's fun to play with in that regard. He's quick. He's so much like Heyman.
Yes.
And Cornette, never at a loss for words. And when he does provide context, as you say, it fits the moment.
Yes.
He's not, you're not talking about plan B and he's already on G. No. Golden. G for golden.
Well, we should also mention that we needed a pick me up last Sunday. We needed something to smile about because we had a rough couple of days in the wrestling community. We got the tragic news last Wednesday that we lost Terry Funk, which just didn't seem like it could be possible. And I know that, he's been maybe not in the best of health for a little while now, but it's one of those guys where you think he'll live forever, or you damn sure hope he will.
Look at that. I'm scared of what he might do next. That's on YouTube. I like that tie. It's my Dick Enberg look.
You're going to love the way you look.
Yeah. Terry was such a great friend. We talk on the phone a lot. Look at those guys. That's a pretty good announce team.
Yeah, you think?
Yeah, I think so. God damn it, Conrad. It's a great team. I'm from the Double Cross Ranch, you son of a bitch, Ross, you fat okie. I've been called the fat okie so many times from a guy that I love. I still love Terry Funk. I love him today. I love him tomorrow. He was a great help to me and a lot of things. He was a credit to the wrestling business without question. Here's the thing about Terry. It kind of is Jericho-esque, or even Sting-esque, and that is the ability to reinvent.
Oh, yeah.
He goes from a babyface in some territory champion in the NWA to a heel champion in the NWA. Then, you can migrate all the way through things like the empty arena match with Lawler there in Memphis. And then Chainsaw Charlie came about. That was one of my favorite things I ever did as a talent relations head. And that was hire Terry Funk. I didn't give him shit. I hired Terry Funk to come back to work for WWE late in his career. And some were raising their eyebrows that maybe JR just lost it. No, he contributed. He was a fun character. We're still talking about him.
Yes.
So I love that component, because the look on his face, the sparkle in his eye when he was performing as Chainsaw Charlie with the Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, was just a wonderful feeling that I did something good. Yeah. So I love Terry, and he was such a great guy, funny guy. We had so much fun together, and I'm going to miss him because he would call me out of the blue. Raphael Morphy was at my condo, which is all toward the hell now because of the windows and the all that stuff. I'm afraid to even take my housekeeper sends me pictures and I want Larry to look at them. But I was sitting there one day with Raphael talking about some travel, and my phone rang, Terry Funk. So I put him on speaker, and Raphael told me the other day after the news of Terry's passing that was one of the most enjoyable afternoons he's ever had in the wrestling business. To hear Terry and myself reconnect and talk, and so I'm glad that Raphael got to experience the Terry Funk moment with me. It's about a 40-minute telephone call. So, you goddamn Ross, I've talked to you long enough, you fat okie. So we just, he's just going to be missed. I had such a deep, long relationship with him. I mean, you stop and think about the things he's done. That hardcore stuff. He did all that ECW stuff was a different incarnation of Terry Funk. So, and then pile driving Flair on a table that didn't break, solid table, that's dangerous. And Rick should be applauded for taking it, because I think it was an ad lib. I've always thought it was an ad lib, and I might be wrong, but I always thought it was an ad lib. But no matter how it came about, you got to give Flair credit for taking it, and it helped shoot that angle right off the screen, and it led to that famous, one of my favorite matches ever, the I Quit match in Troy, New York, with Gordon Solie as my partner.
One of my favorite matches too. Go out of your way to watch it. And if you just can't get enough Terry Funk, check out Tony Schiavone's podcast this week, What Happened When. We did a watch along where Tony saw the empty arena match for the very first time. It was really a one-man performance with Terry Funk. He just stole the show with his promo and his selling of the eye. You just got to go out of your way to see it. We just did a great tribute to Terry with Mick Foley as well. He had a very heartfelt message that he wanted to share, and of course some fun stories along the way. And he was Bruce Pritchard's favorite wrestler and the reason Bruce wanted to be in the wrestling business. So we did a nice tribute for Terry with Bruce as well over on Something to Wrestle. So if you're looking for more Terry content, go out of your way to check those out. But the real tragedy, the real tragic news didn't come on Wednesday. Unbelievably, it came on Thursday.
Yeah, man.
We found out that we lost Bray Wyatt at just 36 years old. He leaves behind quite a legacy in WWE, but more importantly, a lovely bride-to-be in JoJo and 4 very young children.
Yeah.
And it added some much-needed perspective, and I realized that everybody's talking about the dirt right now, but boy, isn't this what brings some new perspective? As you and I are recording, I believe his celebration of life is today. And classy as always, Tony Khan has allowed the AEW talent who needed to miss TV in order to attend the opportunity to do so. I know a lot of our WWE friends have rescheduled their entire work weeks to make sure that they're there. I mean, listen, at least Terry, we never wanted to lose Terry, but at least Terry got to live a full life. Mm-hmm. And he wrote in his book he wouldn't trade his life with anyone. But Bray Wyatt, man, that young man had a lot of living left to do.
You're not kidding, boy.
He made his years here count, and I hope that adds some much-needed perspective to all of us and who get caught up in the hustle and bustle of life and think, well, this is important and that's important, and oh no, what are we going to do? Those stresses aren't real stresses. They're not really that important. Bray Wyatt's family is what's most important, and it's times like these where guys like you and I say, well, thoughts and prayers, and that doesn't seem enough. But
yeah, right.
What do you say about a guy leaving us at just 36 years old?
Well, it's sad in all fronts. I feel so sad for those children because their dad was a hell of a guy, and they're never going to know him. They can watch videos and stuff like that and kind of experience what Bray Wyatt was all about. But dang, man, I'm with you. I was just so shocked. My first thought was the family, the kids,
yes.
And his wife, or his soon-to-be wife,
yes,
JoJo. Her dad was a baseball player, right? Offerman. I think her dad was a big-time MLB guy. So who knows if those athletic genes and those kids, who knows where they're going to go if they choose to go this direction. I feel bad for Mike Rotunda. It's his son. It was Mike's son, and to bury a son or a daughter siblings are hard. There's no doubt about that. But your
Yes.
children, come on. So I feel bad for Mike, you don't hardly ever hear anybody say anything negative. I can't even recall anybody saying anything
No,
negative about Mike
never.
Rotunda. He was a wrestler's wrestler.
Yes.
And was classy and college educated. He started a goal. He's a 4-year football player and wrestler at Syracuse. So I feel so sorry for Mike. He didn't deserve that hand that was dealt him.
No.
But I know he's strong and he'll lead that family to the next step, whatever that may be. So you know what surprised me, Conrad, is the fact that so many people were speaking out, friends of Bray's, and how popular he was. And that kind of surprised me a little bit. I understand why now. I wasn't around him very much. I went down to make some trips to NXT back in the day when he was Husky Harris or something. But he's going to really be missed. And I know Mike will be strong and lead this family to, I guess, as I said, the next step, whatever that may be. So, but I didn't know Bray that well, but I was pleasantly surprised of how many people that spoke out and said things about Bray and how much they loved him and how creative he was. So apparently, unbeknownst to me, how would I know? He had a whole hell of a lot to do with the creative of his character.
That's right.
And when you get a talent that will invest themselves in their character, you have a hell of a lot better chance of the character succeeding. I said this before, and I use him a lot because he was my mentor. But when Watts was working, and he was the biggest, he was a 300-pound baby face. So he had to be kind of careful as to who he brought in to work with him because of size. And, it's hard to get empathy on a 300-pound baby face. I used to say the same thing to Taker. Here's a 6'10", 300-pound guy and he's going to sell so well that the fans are going to get behind him like they would any baby face, even though he's a giant. And Husky or Bray just fit that bill. So he left a great legacy for such a short time in the spotlight. He did maximize his minutes, and he was a great kid apparently. And but I wouldn't expect anything less from the DNA running through his veins. And just wish that his heart issues had been I don't want to say better addressed, but I don't know if there's anything more. Maybe the damage was irreversible. I don't know. But bottom line, he's no longer with us. And those children don't have a daddy. And JoJo doesn't have her man. And we're going to miss that kid.
We are indeed. I want to encourage everyone, if you want to celebrate Bray, don't not only, send some tweets and watch some stuff, but go pick up some merch from WWE. Jim, I don't know that you heard this, but instead of WWE just paying their traditional royalty, which I hear is around 5%, they're donating every nickel of the proceeds of the Bray Wyatt merch directly to his family.
Yeah.
And that's important, boys and girls. Nobody plans on their life coming to an end at such an early age, and nobody can plan or account for things like this. And
well, we can help the family, Connor. You brought up the easy point. How can I help? What can I do? How can I react? What can I say? Well, what you can do is you can buy some Bray Wyatt merchandise, knowing that every dime is going to go to the family. So if you wonder, what can I do? I feel so bad about this situation. Here's what you can do. Just follow Conrad's advice. Buy some merch, pay your respects in that regard. And again, those funds will go straight to the family. And I can guarantee you at some point, not today, tomorrow, sometime, they're going to need that. They're going to deserve it. So in any event, I wholeheartedly applaud your suggestion, Conrad.
Well, my other suggestion is if you're going to be watching Payback on Saturday, I can't believe this is real. Let's recap, folks. Friday night, we not only have Starrcast, we also have Rampage. Saturday, we not only have Starrcast, but Saturday night, we have Collision and WWE's Payback. And then on Sunday, we've got All Out. This is a who's who. Everything that could possibly happen in wrestling is happening this weekend. And a lot of us are going to be at home trying to do the dual screen experience and catch all we can. But can I recommend jrsbbq.com? Because if you hurry up and place your order right now, you might have some of that all-purpose seasoning just in time.
Yeah.
Maybe your wife's cooking and, well, it needs a little help. Can I recommend the JR's Red Ass Hot Sauce? You don't want to miss that. They've got something for everybody over there. 2 types of barbecue sauce, Chipotle ketchup, main event mustard, and how about my favorite, the all-purpose seasoning? And you don't just have the sauces, sauce it, baby. You also have some really fun merch over at jrsbbq.com, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've signed a bunch of those action figures, which I find to be somewhat ironic that it's called an action figure with me. Because I don't have any movable parts in those things, but I've signed a bunch of them, ready to ship them out. We got all the books that I've written or we've written. They're available. A lot of that stuff is signed. We still do personalization, so we got some good stuff for gifts. And it's not. I know it sounds ridiculous, but prepare for Christmas ads on all fronts from everybody. And it's not that long till we celebrate Christmas again. And I would love for you to celebrate a part of your Christmas with some of our products. And people love to get food. It's a good gift. So there you see a little arrangement. I'm big on the mustard because it's got like 1 gram of sugar. And if we all watch our sugar intake, we'll be healthier. No doubt about that. So that jalapeno honey mustard is badass. Badass. It's good stuff. So, yeah, check it out, jrsbbq.com. We're shipping orders out as quickly as humanly possible. And if you don't get your order in a timely basis, just let us know. You can go online and spread it to the whole world. People seem to like to do that. Or you could just email the site and we'll get right on it too. So, but it's good. I appreciate you bringing it up, Conrad. It's always grilling season where I'm sitting right now. And I know that saying goes to a lot of people, including Mr. Conrad Thompson.
It's always grilling season. You don't want to miss it. jrsbbq.com. Something for everybody. We'll be back next week. I'm sure we'll be talking about All Out and Collision and a little college football and all the dirt.
Right here. My God. He's got
You get all these shows early and ad-free over at adfreeshows.com. So if you haven't already, come check us out, baby. We got not only these regular shows, we get to be a part of our live studio audience, and we want to give a shout out to everybody who showed up early with us today. Coach Rosie and Bobby and Dylan, and I mean, just everybody over in the group chat. Shout out to Lucas and so many more. Appreciate you guys showing up early for us. We got a bunch of bonus content over there at Ad Free Shows, Jim. We got the book with David Crockett, the Insiders. We just had Dan Bynum on. We've got the False Finish. We just had Zach Gowen on. We've got Ask Conrad. We got Monday Mailbag with Mike Chioda and Nick Patrick. We've got Tuesdays with the Taskmaster. These are all shows that are exclusive to adfreeshows.com, and you can be a part by signing up right now at adfreeshows.com. I want to mention, if your business targets men that are 25 to 54 years old, there's no better place to advertise than right here. You hear some of the same ads over and over and over, and that's because it really works.
Yep.
We've got a super targeted audience, so if you're looking for men, we got them. It's advertisewithjr.com. Love to have your social interaction as well. You can ask us a question about this week's show or any show. It's at JR Grilling on Twitter and Instagram, Grilling JR over on Facebook. Keep up with the man himself. Let him know what you think about his performance this weekend and that you want to see more of him on AEW. It's at JR's BBQ on Twitter. He's over on Instagram at Jim Ross BBQ. And of course, you can watch us every week, not just hear us every week, at Grilling JR on YouTube.com.
That's where to go, man.
Maybe my most favorite thing that happened over the weekend, though, is you coined a phrase that we've now immediately put on a t-shirt the same day at grillingjrts.com. Why is everything golden? You can pick it up at grillingjrts.com. Why is everything golden? Jim, I never know what to expect when we sit down and click record, but it's a treat every time. And I thank you for the time today.
Oh, you bet, buddy. I appreciate you indulging my jet lag. I'm excited about this weekend. How could you not be? If you're a wrestling fan, we got so much to be grateful for, so much to be thankful for. Let's look at the bucket being half full as opposed to being half empty.
That's right.
And we can all do that. So enjoy wrestling this weekend. It's great. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. I said that many times before with different audiences. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. And so this weekend, take advantage of it. Get your buddies around you. Have some fun. Have a cold brew. Grill some steaks. Grill some burgers and dogs. And use that JR stuff on it, and you'll complete the weekend, in my humble and biased opinion.
Check it out, jrsbbq.com, and we'll see you guys next week and every week right here on Grilling JR with the voice of wrestling, Mr. Jim Ross.
Thank you very much, Conrad. Thank you all you guys for your support, your kind words. It means a lot to the old timer here. I can tell you that. So, and I'll hopefully see a lot of you in Chicago. I'm looking forward to my appearance at Starrcast. That should be fun. I enjoy. Conrad and I will bring a little different side to what we're doing, and it'll be fun. There'll be a lot of laughs, and we'll answer a lot of questions, and so it should be fun. So hopefully I'll see you in Chicago, either at Starrcast and or at one of these great events. So check us out, enjoy it, smile, be thankful that you're there, because we're going to be thankful that you're there very much so. So. Thanks, Conrad. We'll see you guys next week, and have fun this weekend.
See you guys soon next week right here on Grilling JR.
Starrcast returns to the Chicago area this Labor Day weekend. Tickets for Starrcast VI are now on sale at Starrcast.com and include AEW All-Out Ticket Bundle options. Join us at the Hyatt Regency Schaumburg starting Friday night, September 1st, for unique fan experiences with wrestling legends from yesterday and superstars from today. Follow Starrcast events on Twitter for the latest updates about all things Starrcast. Starrcast VI is brought to you in part by ProWrestlingCrate.com. Monthly mystery crates for die-hard wrestling fans. Plans start at $9.95 and are the perfect gift for any wrestling fan. Visit ProWrestlingCrate.com today.
Hey guys, Tony Schiavone. Need to call a timeout real quick. Wanted to tell your listeners what I've been telling What Happened When listeners for a while now about all the cool things happening over on adfreeshows.com.
On the latest edition of The False Finish, Zach Gowen talks about reaching the top of the pro wrestling world against incredible physical odds before issues with immaturity got in his way.
It's not a talent issue, it's a maturity issue. We want to see you continue to wrestle, try new characters, become a heel, try new things, find a groove. The door is open, just mature a little bit. But it was almost fatherly, the way he sat me down and explained to me exactly why I was being released. And I'll always remember that, and I'll always thank Jim Ross every time I see him for that.
As Dog and Casio finished up their latest Ask Dog Anything, they kept the party going for Ad-Free Shows members, answering more questions on a bonus overrun.
We were the main event. Me and Brian Christopher were the main event. Doug was in a up there match. Jamie Dundee was in a tag title match, I'm sure. And we just stopped and started playing pool and drinking. Like, that was what we did. We pulled through the median and turned around and just called from a payphone and said, yeah, our car can't make it.
That's just a small taste of what we got waiting for you. With 4 levels to choose from, see for yourself why Ad-Free Shows is the best value in wrestling today. Sign up now at adfreeshows.com.